굉장히 컬럼비아 대학에서도 그 우수 교수로서 상을 받으셨고 또 제가 그 협회 뭐 굉장히 그 유명한 티칭 어워드를 많이 받으셨어요. 여기 저를 포함해서 이제 저널리즘을 가르치시는 선생님들도 여러 분 와 계신데 우리 시대의 저널리즘을 가르치는 사람은 어떻게 가르쳐야 되는지 그런 조언을 좀 주십시오. 저널리즘 티처에게 주는 어드바이스.
I learned so much about teaching by watching other great teachers at work. I had extraordinary teachers during my high school and college years, and I have stolen a lot of their best ideas. So I think that's one thing, is if you're learning, if you want to be a great teacher, you have to find great teachers and observe them and learn from them. That's one thing. Another thing to keep in mind is that we have to be models of what we want from our students. I have a reputation of being a very rigorous and tough and demanding teacher, but I also make sure I live up to my own standards. When I have a student come late to my class, and sometimes I lock the door and make them wait, but one of the things I say to them is, if you want me to be late, then keep coming late. We can run a class that way if you want. And if you want to sit there, all 15 of you, and wait 10 minutes after the start of class for me to show up, then fine. We can do it that way. But if I ask you to be on time, it's only because I'm going to be on time. And for instance, if I get every week my written assignments from my students, I promise to them the next week in class, all of your assignments will be edited. Every assignment will be handed back to you. Because if you can't hold up your end, return their work on time, edit it in a thoughtful way and in a helpful way, then you have no right to ask them to make their deadlines. It's constant reciprocity. You can only ask of them what you're giving to them. You have to return to them everything you're asking of them. And then I think there's this balance that we were talking about that when we were having lunch the other day that I call Old Testament versus New Testament. So one part of my life as a teacher is like the Old Testament. You know, in the Old Testament, God is always wagging his finger at the ancient Hebrews and saying, you're worshiping that golden calf. You're worshiping those idols. You know, you're really messing up. I'm going to make sure that the Babylonians conquer you and take you away. You know, I'm going to visit, terrible things on you because of your iniquities. So that's part of what teaching is. It's calling people out. It's not letting them have it, hand in anything substandard. It's catching every error they make and having zero tolerance for others. But then there's the New Testament. In the New Testament, Jesus comes along and says it's about love and forgiveness and redemption and the possibility of people to change. And that's the other way you have to be as a journalism professor, that if you're going to be tough and demanding and even harsh on your students, they have to know that when they work really hard, even if they fall short, and when they begin to make progress, you will notice that. You will praise them for it. You will let them know that you see the effort and that you see the improvement and that you're rooting for them to make that improvement. So I think those two things have to be together. You can't be all New Testament. You can't just be everything is great, it's wonderful, you're the best students I've ever had, and let people get away with being not competent. But you also can't be cruel. There's a way to be demanding and have high standards without being cruel and being heartless. So it can't be one or the other. It has to be a kind of a dialogue between both.